So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Miranda Saroli. I use she, her pronouns. As I mentioned before, I'm part of the Knowledge Mobilization team. My specific title is Knowledge Mobilization and Social Action Coordinator. I would say, unlike the other health promoters, I cover a bit of a broader range of issues and topics, often what's linked to the focus of the research, findings that we are mobilizing, or what's, for example, what's going on in the healthcare system in terms of equity, access, and outcomes. So a couple projects that I've touched on recently include cervical cancer screening and TB stigma. I also touch on other sectors and systems like food security, financial empowerment. And I might also focus in on specific subpopulations of our clients, for example, the LGBTQ plus newcomer women project. So many of these research projects do have social action objectives embedded, but we also have, as you can see from some of our presentations so far, there is social action work and initiatives that's not necessarily linked to specific research, but they're broader initiatives that are happening organization-wide that are aiming to advance our organizational priorities and affect systems change in those areas. So the case study that I'm going to be speaking about today is an example of one of those broader initiatives. So that is the Civic Engagement for Newcomers workshop series. And basically, I wanted to just start out by outlining what's the need or what's the importance for civic engagement for newcomers specifically. So statistically, newcomers to Canada are less likely to be interested or involved in politics and civic life. And there are definitely many contributing factors for why this is. Some of them include the political structures or the political situations from the countries of origin, or just generally what opportunities they've had in their countries of origin to be involved in having a voice. Their immigration status here in Canada is a limiting factor in terms of needing that citizenship to be able to vote. Things like language barriers and other competing priorities of work, childcare, and so on. However, new immigrants represent a huge part of the population here in Canada, especially in Toronto. So clearly there is a need to build up this engagement. So as an agency, we do typically run civic engagement events in the lead up to elections, as you may have seen with the recent provincial election. However, civic engagement is more than just voting. It actually takes on many different forms. So volunteering is a form of civic engagement, getting involved in events that are happening in your neighborhood, in your community, even just learning and gaining knowledge around the processes that affect you and your communities is a form of civic engagement. So a key objective of this workshop was helping newcomers to understand that they don't necessarily have to vote in elections to express their voice and have a say. So the goal of this workshop series was really to build the skills, confidence, and opportunities of newcomer clients and community members to participate in civic life in the ways and levels that they desire or are able to, with the ultimate goal of contributing to strong, healthy communities. So we know that people who are engaged in their communities, engaged in what's going on around them, tend to be more invested in community health and well-being. So in terms of the approach that we took, it was a 4-part workshop series targeting newcomers, obviously, and we wanted to embed a participatory element to the design. We really wanted to hear from the participants what they wanted to learn about. So we kind of had some pre-planned content, but a good chunk of the workshops were we heard from participants around some of the priority issues that they were facing, and that helped to guide the content for subsequent workshops. So topics like housing, healthcare, pathways to employment. And actually the final session, we left entirely open and heard from participants what topics they wanted to hear about. And actually we ended up getting one of our own participants to lead the session. So the May 1st Decent Work rally that we attended, we got to learn that one of our participants, Purnima Chowdhury, is actually a Decent Work champion herself. And so we got her to help to run the last session, which was all about making noise around an issue in your community. We also had, as part of our project team, a recent newcomer volunteer to make sure that the content was appropriate and relevant for the participants. And we also did an evaluation in the form of surveys and debriefs with the project team. So I'm going to frame this workshop series as Marvin and Chimu have done. I'm going to do similarly with this micro, meso, macro model. So looking at the micro or individual or interpersonal level to start off. So here we were looking at helping to increase knowledge around governance systems and structures within that Canadian context, and really making that connection around how issues that people are facing in their own lives are connected to broader government policies. Increasing skills to address issues of public concern, so things like letter writing and leadership building. And we really wanted to build that sense of stronger sense of agency and personal empowerment among the participants, and having that confidence to be able to engage in civic life. And again, really impressing upon the importance of why newcomer voices matter. And we always included at every session some information and resources and opportunities to take action around issues. Moving on to the meso level. So I would say that, you know, this workshop is just sort of the beginning. It's not to say that after just 4 workshops, we're necessarily coming close to making an impact at the meso or macro levels. But I think it's really good to know what are those broader objectives that are guiding this type of work, and what we're really like working towards with this type of initiative or this type of work. So that said, the civic engagement series is really helping to contribute to an increased sense of belonging, connection, and trust within the community and the neighborhood. Again, like learning, hearing about other issues that are common among neighbors and within the community, and how those are linked to the systems that surround us, helps to kind of you know, build empathy and connection with others, with other neighbors and community members. This initiative also was helping to build the capacity of volunteers and students, and ultimately working towards building a network of engaged, informed, and politically aware citizens. And lastly, what we're kind of working towards at the systems level or policy level. So this type of civic engagement work is working towards empowering newcomer communities to take action around issues affecting them. Again, building that community focused, community-led advocacy. And through that increased engagement, this would ultimately contribute towards improved quality of life for newcomer and immigrant communities. And also by that increased participation, this would help to strengthen and diversify our democratic process, and ultimately and hopefully lead to more equitable and inclusive policies. So looking to the future, basically here I'm considering what's the potential, not just for this series, but again, keeping that broader scope, what civic engagement work more broadly across the organization can look like or work towards. So in the most immediate time frame, we do want to use those evaluation findings to inform a new and improved series, continuing to focus on different ways that newcomers can take action, build skills, and again, beyond voting. So in terms of strengthening community action, we're looking towards building a panel of community members who are trained to do deputation, speak to the media across a range of issues. So Chimu and Marvin have mentioned this a little bit already. And in terms of creating supportive environments, I think Access Alliance does certainly do this already to a certain degree, but I think there's room to build us up more as a supportive space and resource for newcomers to self-organize. That's kind of like the goal. And beyond Access Alliance, this is where we start to look at that system level work that we're working towards and partnerships. So building up community engagement in elections advocacy, I think, is like a really good place to start. We have an upcoming municipal election in the fall, and eventually we would want to work towards some community-led advocacy work. The Journeys to Active Citizenship is a current project led by Okazi, and they are building basically like an inclusive civic engagement curriculum for immigrants and refugees. So we're going to be participating and contributing to that. And then dreaming really big, this idea of community assemblies. So gathering people together with lived experience, that might be our clients, community members, people with subject matter expertise, policymakers, and community organizations and partners to gather together and focus on one key issue per assembly and really drill down into that issue and explore potential for action and advocacy work around that. So this definitely comes with recognizing that supporting our client communities to self-organize and contribute to advocacy work does take time, but it's certainly worth investing in. And that's it.